How is it possible that HR experts and recruiters tell us everything about how to be the best and most successful job seekers, but we constantly find job ads which are far from being excellent and quality job ads? Does it mean that HR experts and recruiters are champions in writing CVs and cover letters, but they don't know how to write an excellent and quality job ad? I don't think so. I think that HR or people and culture professionals and recruiters know very well how to attract the best candidates. They know how to write a compelling and quality job ad with all the useful information to help candidates make a decision. Hiring is so critical to every company's future. So, what's going on here? Some weeks ago, I jumped on a very interesting podcast in which Simon Barrow, who actually created the employer brand approach to management, was interviewed to talk about employer brand management. A very interesting listen full of insightful thoughts and ideas, and some of what he said got my attention. He talked about the aversion to risk in relation to HR when it comes to employer branding. So if you want to delve deep into this topic, you can find the link to the podcast episode in the description box below. Employer brand management is a huge theme, and of course it can be a useful aid to an effective recruitment process, but it's a field that definitely goes beyond any form of recruiting strategy. So in this video, we are only going to scratch the surface of employer brand management. However, let's see if in today's video, we will be able to get to grips with employer branding and why it's so damn difficult. So let's get started. We know everything about how to write the perfect CV, to make it distinctive, compelling and optimized. We know everything about how to address whatever is holding recruiters back from getting interested in our candidacy. We know how to flatter recruiters at every level of the application journey. We know everything about how to write the most incredible, well-researched, tailored, personalized, passionate cover letter to help recruiters make the right decision, to make them feel special, to let them know how much we love the company we are applying for. And in case we didn't know all of that, well, actually there are dozens and dozens of very good webinars, videos, blogs, posts, and of course career coaches out there who can provide the best piece of advice. HR professionals who will tell you everything about how to perform as the best candidate. I use 3 languages, and believe me, it's exactly like that. There is a massive amount of content on this topic. You see, getting a new job is a job in itself. It requires motivation, knowledge and time. You know, your CV and cover letter can take from 2 to 4 hours to be done properly. It's not a joke for candidates. It's very serious stuff. Lots of time and energy, especially if you are actively looking for a new position because you have lost your job and you need a new one to make a living. And then just have a look at the career website and job ads of any company you know and read them all. In Simon Barrow's words, you will get tired of looking at the same words and images being used. It's terrible. Mostly it's second-rate stuff. You may say, well, there is nothing new under the sun, right? But he also says, very fascinating in my opinion, it's not the creator's fault. They could do better. But the aversion to risk is so severe that although you can be yourself and take risks with the customer, back on the ranch, it's very tough. Today's video is to empathize in a certain way with HR professionals and especially with recruiters, because the aversion to risk is here the crux of the matter, in my opinion. HR professionals have to deal with the aversion to risk because, as we will see, doing employer branding is damn difficult. In a passage of the podcast, Simon Barrow explained some of the reasons why employer brand management is tougher than product management. Here you have one of them. He says, in product management, most of the elements are outside the company. They are not political, they are commercial. Changes can be difficult, but they are not that sensitive. Closing a brand, pulling out of a test market, that's just business. But in employer brand management territory, you are in the heart of the corporate body. You've got to face issues of territory, ego, ambition, personal competition, personal reputation, and all in the context of zero risk. You are not supposed to make mistakes in the world of HR. This is a very fascinating point made by a professional with many years of experience in brand management like Simon Barrow. I don't know if you agree or disagree. Let me know in the comment section below. Let's now go back to the HR aversion to risk and where it eventually comes from. At the end of my last video about quality job ads and where to find them, I said that what it takes to create an excellent and quality job ad is courage. And I'm sure that the majority of HR professionals can be willing to share this courage point of view. Otherwise, it's inexplicable why there are plenty of HR professionals and experts promoting content about best practice in employer branding and recruiting strategy, but actually, in reality, the same experts publish unacceptable and incomplete job ads, very poor in useful information for candidates and rich in buzzwords. Is that due to this HR aversion to risk? So, in my opinion, a possible way to understand the nature of this aversion to risk and flip it a little bit resides in the following couple of questions, which are perhaps related to what Simon Barrow says about the HR aversion to risk. First, is HR seen as a strategic partner within companies? Second, can HR professionals see themselves as strategic partners? In other words, do HR professionals have the confidence, the authority and the courage to put what's wrong on the table and say, as Simon Barrow puts in his interview, this is wrong, and then press for change? This is why we are not recruiting or holding or making productive so many of our people. This is what we need to be. To do this takes courage. Someone could say, well, it's not only about aversion to risk. As I'm saying actually, employer branding is a complex transformation for any company, and Simon Barrow is a professional with many years of experience in this field. So I don't question the concept of aversion to risk when it comes to HR professionals. I can even understand it because some aversion to risk must be present if career websites and job ads look pretty much the same nowadays. Don't you think so? There is another point made by Simon Barrow, which is that HR professionals have to understand boardroom speak and be able to translate the value they can bring to the table. The value of HR within a company. But what does it mean? Well, it means that until the HR department becomes a strategic partner within companies, nothing will change. When we say that business is driven by people power, we are saying that the world of work today depends on human capital, and HR professionals are not only the compliance officers of old anymore. HR professionals are partners in strategic planning, driving business to success, and working with the highest levels of management to deliver results which are measurable and actionable for growth and success. If we take the definition of employer brand given by Simon Barrow, we can actually see how the HR department can play and has to play a crucial strategic role. The employer brand is the package of functional, economic and psychological benefits provided by employment and identified with the employing company. So the employer brand is formed by the functional, economic and psychological realities making up the employee experience provided by the employer. So what can HR bring to the employer branding strategy and the employee experience? Well, certainly its specific and traditional HR sensitivity, reflection, knowledge, understanding and humanity, as Barrow says, which are vital factors. But HR professionals also have to become more data-driven and analytically savvy. And it's something that's happening now, in my opinion. HR professionals have played a fundamental strategic role during the health emergency experienced in the last 2 years. Just to give an example, take what's happening with the people analytics or the HR analytics revolution, only to mention some of the new approaches within the HR departments. In many organizations, the HR department is completely shifting from a fuddy-duddy, old-fashioned soft department, where a lot of work was based on gut feeling, to a more data-driven and analytical department actively involved in decision-making on a strategic level. This kind of data shifting does not make irrelevant, of course, the traditional and fundamental core and specificity of HR's role, which is their human relation skills at all levels to deal with people at work. It's really a very exciting moment for HR or people and culture professionals. There is a very interesting article published in 2019 with the title "Why HR Leaders Never Become CEO, but Should." Maybe it's time to reflect on that. Okay, perhaps it's more clear now how the employer branding concept is not only related to how we recruit effectively, so it cannot be a standalone strategy, but rather a company-wide strategy. For this reason, instead of or besides this HR aversion to risk, I prefer to talk of the aversion to seeing HR as a strategic partner. Because working on an effective employer branding strategy requires cooperation from all levels of management, which means putting together team members from various departments and management levels to develop a cohesive strategy. If the HR department does not play or cannot play a strategic role within a company, there will always be a sort of aversion to risk, or even aversion to speak up, especially when a department is seen as a cost center rather than a creator of real business value like HR or even L&D are often considered. Building a great employer brand, like any form of transformation, requires a joint effort of different professionals within an organization. This is a complex transformation that has to involve the top management group and must be led by the top table. Otherwise, nothing will change, as Barrow says. And I think that when HR collaborates with every division of the company, the potential of human capital is unlimited. Just some last considerations. We have seen that sometimes HR professionals and recruiters struggle as much as candidates, although in a different way. They struggle when it comes to putting into place the best possible recruiting process and dealing at the same time with a complex dynamic within organizations. However, this cannot be a justification for poorly written job ads, because I think that respect, kindness, ethics and transparency always have to be the values that any company should be interested in displaying. We all need those values in place. A job ad can give anyone the opportunity to have a glimpse of the culture of a particular company, and companies should look after more than ever before the message they want to give through their career website and job ads. Until next time. Ciao!